Hi, I'm Damien Cross at DC_F1 on Twitter, and welcome to ZoomZoomers on the 2nd of August 2021. As always, I can see a lot of people in the waiting room here, so I'm just going to start letting them in as they arrive one by one. Apologies for any swearing and that kind of thing. I'm sure they're all going to be very well behaved, but we'll see how it all goes. Wow, I've got lots of people in front of me already. I'll just go through them one by one on my screen as other people start joining. Top left for me, we have Near. Near, can I take your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Hello, it's Near Khan, Near_Khan, KAHN on Twitter, and I'm a vehicle designer.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Just as she puts a mug down, Naomi, can I take your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Hello, I'm Naomi Panther. My Twitter handle is at Naomi Panther, and I am one of the co-founders of a motorsport agency called Navigate.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Ian, I know you've had a very busy evening. It's great to see you here. Can I take your name and your Twitter handle, please?
It's Ian Cook from Pop Band Colour, and I'm an artist and creative, and I'm sat in my mobile studio car.
You look like you're some sort of re-entry from space or something. You're about to crash land into an ocean and need to get rescued.
I wish a Chevrolet Spark with 100,000 miles was worth that amount of money, but sadly not.
100,000 miles?
100 and over, 100, and a bit more than that now, but 100,000.
A hard-working car. Fantastic. Cammy, can I take your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Hello, my name's Cammy. Twitter handle's Cammy Racing. I'm a sim racer, digital creative in motorsport.
Okay, great to have you here. Alan.
Hi, I'm Alan Bradley from the Motoring Podcast, and my Twitter handle is at AJP Bradley. That's BRADLEY, and Near stole my spelling thing earlier
on. Chris, can I take your name and your Twitter handle, please?
I'm Chris. My Twitter handle is at Chris H Drives, and I'm marketing and PR for the Peugeot Sport Club, amongst other things.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. Simon.
Hello, I'm Simon Browse. I'm a vintage and classic car restorer, and my Twitter and various social handles are imaginatively at Cy Browse.
Cy Browse, fantastic. Thank you very much. Joe.
Joe Tanner, spreadsheet and PowerPoint guru at Stellantis, and at Stuff About Cars is my Twitter handle.
Thank you very much. Richard.
Hello, I'm Richard Gooding, and my Twitter handle is at richgooding.com, and I'm a freelance motor writer and graphic designer.
Excellent, thank you very much. While I'm just letting some more people in, you may notice a new face to ZoomZoomers, probably a recognisable face to a lot of people. But if I could take, Dominic, your full name and, if possible, your Twitter handle as well, please.
My name's Dominic Taylor Lane. My Twitter handle is at OAOHERENG. So there you go. Even I had to think about that.
Yeah, it's a tricky. When you see it written down, you go, "Oh yeah, I know who that." And the logo is so distinctive. You kind of know what you see it over your shoulder there, up in an Instagram frame. So yeah, we'll get onto that in just a moment. But we just had LA join. LA, take your name and Twitter handle, please.
Yeah, it's okay. Dominic, I always forget mine, and I've been doing this for a while. So it's LA Wilshire, and my Twitter is at @1_LA.
Fantastic. Now, LA, since I've got you talking, and as Craig hasn't been able to make it, I'm going to come to you before we start talking about all things roadcast to talk a little bit about motorsport, because you're obviously keeping your eye on what's been happening over in Hungary. How did it all go? Because it seems like it was a hell of a weekend.
It was actually really good. I think we've had Silverstone as well, haven't we, since the last time we met? So yeah, we've had 2 Grand Prix, and if it's okay to go back to that, because obviously there was a massive incident that's been the talk of the town since then between Max and Lewis, of course, fighting in the title battle, and whatever your views are of that particular incident, it's gone on and on and on, and hopefully put to bed now by Max Verstappen's words in a press conference over this weekend, because I think that they all just want to move on and they're all pretty fed up with it. But Silverstone was quite thrilling. I was present. I was there in person, so watching it all for myself. And don't forget, we had that new sprint qualifying that is brand new format, and they're testing the idea hopefully 3 times this season, and it's not unfamiliar to myself, who's also involved in Formula 2. It's something a little bit similar, not quite the same, but a little bit similar to the Formula 2 format of sprinting anyway, and it mattering for another race. So this weekend in Hungary, it was just great. It was, I think, probably from a Red Bull point of view, and from a Max Verstappen and a Perez and a Charles Leclerc point of view, and Lando Norris, it was not great, was it? There was Valtteri Bottas, just holding his hands up, taking the full blame for not braking at the correct moment on a very slippery damp track. And yes, he hit the back of Lando Norris, as Lando had actually overtaken him on the start, because he'd had a pretty bad start. And he took quite a few cars out, and, made Max Verstappen limp back to the pits and continue the race with a fairly broken up car. But he finished, credit to him. He finished in the points, and I think he was promoted to P9 once Vettel had received his penalty, his disqualification, in fact, not a penalty. And we had, what else did we have? We had red flags. We had cars finishing where they wouldn't ordinarily finish. We had Ocon winning, which was absolutely amazing. Ocon's not necessarily on my radar, but he is certainly an up-and-coming driver, and did really well for Racing Point when he was with them, and also did great, as Mercedes sort of reserve come test driver, and he's doing well in the Alpine. There was a lot of pressure on his shoulders earlier in the season for him to perform better. And he has done, hasn't he? Yeah, you could say he benefited from what happened. Obviously, there was a lot happened at Hungary, but he went on to win, and he kept Vettel, who's a world champion himself, at bay in a very quick Aston Martin. And we had other on-track battles too, and we also saw George Russell getting his first points in the Williams, for Williams, and Latifi as well, double points for the team, which was amazing. Again, benefiting perhaps from circumstances, but that they've not been that terrible this season. They've been a little bit unlucky in the odd race or two, so they deserve those points, absolutely, because that's what happens. It happens in anything. Something happens to one racer or another racer, and then somebody else benefits, probably in every single race, right? So we saw a very different podium. We saw, Ocon there, and we saw Vettel, which he did lose that place, sadly, in the end, because of a fuel dispute, although Aston Martin are appealing that decision. And we had Lewis Hamilton all by himself on that race restart, which was very bizarre, and quite, not sort of laughing at him, but it was just quite a comical situation of just found it very, very strange for him to be sat there all by himself on the race restart, and everybody else had pitted to change their tires. And then I think that their reasoning was that he would have ended up coming out last anyway if he'd have pitted, because of the way the pit lane was. So he inevitably ended up coming out last after he had to pit, and worked his way up. He battled his way up into third place, which was then promoted to second. So he's very happy. So there's some very happy people there, this weekend, that were promoted for various reasons. And then there are some incredibly unhappy people. But I think, to be fair, we still have the standings that switched around. Hamilton's now leading Verstappen, but Norris has kept his place because the people sort of chasing behind him are Bottas and Perez, who were out of the race. So although he lost points, he still didn't lose terribly over the weekend. And then we had Carlos Sainz there battling away for Ferrari. So yeah, it was just it was really good. We even saw Gasly there and Sonoda. There's little Yuki, Formula 2 graduate. getting himself now. He's at 18 points now. He's on. So yeah, it's all happening. It's just like the race is emerging into my mind because there's crashes
like
and
reliving the race.
accidents, both, hasn't there? It's like which one's which now? Hang on, what's going on? Yeah, so that's kind of the Formula One. If you've not watched it, I should have said spoiler alert first, really, shouldn't I?
No, I asked you about it. I mean, it's the great thing having you rather than Craig. Craig would have gone, "Oh yeah, this happened," and that would have been. But it's great to have you kind of talking us through that, LA. And we'll come back to motorsport in a little bit. Before we do that, we'll come back to we'll go over to the world of real cars, and of course, we're now summer started. Restrictions lifting, and there's a lot going on out there. Ian's obviously on the road a lot of the time, and Chris, I know there's lots of events that you're involved in coming up, and the things that you've been doing recently.
Yeah, absolutely. Two big ones for me. We've got Refuel's Summer Festival near Exeter, which is this. It's got live music, but it's a bring whatever you own car show. So finally a car show with everything, and it's hot rods, classic cars, your everyday family wagon, everything. Everyone's invited, and they've got live music, and yeah, that should be a really, really great event. That's on Saturday the 14th August at Winslade Park. Tickets are available from refuel.co.uk. And then the other big one for me is Peugeot Festival is next month. So that's my biggest event of the year for me. Sunday, 19th of September at Prescott, biggest Peugeot event in the world. We invite all the clubs from all over Europe to come and join us. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to get some people coming over for it. And we invite VIP cars and all sorts of other things. There's a show and shine, concours, run what you brung up the hill. So only Peugeot's allowed, but any Peugeots, as long as it's road legal, is allowed up the hill climb. But then we've also had an amazing month. We've had Festival of the Unexceptional, obviously, for you, Damo, your birthday.
Yeah, we'll chat about that. Don't worry, we'll get around to that.
Yeah, he's coming to that. I can see it. That's all leading.
Your birthday as well. Silverstone Classic. There's been all sorts of interesting stuff going on. So lots to talk about and lots of upcoming stuff, which is great. It's going to be brilliant.
It really is. And I will quickly touch on the festival, of course. Festival of the Unexceptional. The Haggerty Festival of the Unexceptional over the weekend. And it was incredible. Chris, I know I've seen the thousands of tweets from you telling us to do it on a Sunday because you can't make it. So many Peugeots. Obviously, there's a great selection of everything, but I think Ian Hubner was it him? One of the YouTubers kind of went around and said, "Wow, it seems like it's the 205 is the car of the event at the moment." Because it was.
I have to mention that 106 though, that 106 Graduate that came second in the concours was just sensational. Absolutely stunning car. Means a lot to me. My mum had one of those, and it's one of those cars that sort of meant a lot to me. And she had a red one. It was a 1.5 non-turbo diesel, could barely get up any hills, but still loved it. Funky little thing. What a stunning car, and just something you just don't see anymore. Where did they all go?
And it cost him £500. This is the great thing.
Amazing.
You don't have to. This is the whole thing about the festival and things like it. But his attention to detail. He had even taken the door cards off that morning to steam clean the inside of them to make sure that they were pristine. And
I hope he comes to Peugeot Festival. If you're listening, please bring it.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with him. I'm sure I've got a way of doing that. So I'll drop that onto his radar. But it was also he was indicative of this younger generation getting into classics via 80s, 90s cars. And actually it leads me quite nicely on to Dominic, because I know a lot of the work that you guys are doing, it's about keeping these traditions alive, keeping the skills alive, making sure that classic cars can keep going. And there's a new audience coming in, and people with the ability to look after these cars and the enthusiasm and passion to own them.
Yeah, well, you've got. I went down to the Retro Rides event down at Goodwood for the first time this year. I've now booked to go to Retro Rides at Chelsea Walsh, and I came back and immediately bought a Generation 1 Celica. But yes, as of September, Heritage Skills Academy, who obviously I work very closely with, and my youngest son Oliver was in their first cohort. They'll have 180 young people with companies within the industry as of September. Now, if you bear in mind, in terms of, proper high quality, everybody the same training, that's 180 more than there were 3 years ago. And the enthusiasm I'm seeing within just that group of people. For instance, my youngest son has a Panda 100 horsepower, which he tunes all the time. He's got a Herald 1250. It's really, really reassuring to see what they are into, what they're building. I mean, one of the apprentices has the most immaculate Mercedes 190 2.3, which he took out the engine and rebuilt it over lockdown. I often get told these kids aren't interested. It's absolute tosh. It's about access, and it's about encouragement and all the things that need to happen, because if they haven't got access, how the hell are they ever supposed to get involved?
Yeah, exactly. It's about seeing their peers getting involved in it, and that kind of thing. It's showing that it's an option, and it needs this next generation to come in to be able to continue, I guess. So yeah,
there are skills that are being lost. You only just need to speak to Simon. I'm sure he will tell you, that there are skills for some of the cars that he's got in his fleet that just don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Simon, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm very, very lucky to speak to Dom regularly about these sorts of things. Dom down there. A point that Dominic and I to discuss a lot is that when you look at the future of the world, not everyone is going to be able to or want to work behind a laptop. The world can't function with just software. So you're going to need to have skills, practical, no matter what they are. And a really good thing about the Heritage Skills Academy is it's not just classic cars. This is applying skills to everything. This is engineering. You can build bridges with engineering, not just classic cars and vintage cars. So yeah, it's really important, and I'm really glad to see some growth in people that want to do something practical by choice, because they're being given that as an option. I think it's fantastic.
Indeed. Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. So it's good to see the classic car world thriving. It was also good to see some of you guys at the shows as well, because the long overdue ZoomZoomers meetup. And I'll just quickly share my screen, because if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure people on this call have probably seen it.
I'd like to say it's a really unfortunate angle. Okay, that's all I'm saying about it.
Willie boys, where's Ben tonight? Ben sat there kind of looking cool, and he's not even turned up tonight. How about that? But it was absolutely fantastic to meet you by the fountain at 1 p.m. It was so romantic, Alan.
Alan looks like a fantastic supply teacher there, I've got to say.
Yeah, I don't think I was breathing in just as the photo was taken. I think that's what's wrong with it.
Yeah, it was a great event for meeting people off the internet, though, wasn't it? Really, we need some more of this. So many of us over the last year or so have kind of been communicating like we do in the ZoomZoomers, through Twitter a lot of the time, through YouTube and that kind of thing. And so much of the day, I think, was people meeting people as well as looking at these fantastic cars. So that was all fantastic to see.
Was there a competition as well for the car T-shirts? Everyone who was attending seemed to have a very snazzy T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
even in that image,
incredibly dressed people, either in period costume, period dress, or with some really cool T-shirts. And that one that Alan, you've got you had a Not Too Grand T-shirt on, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I was wearing Not Too Grand on, mostly because I wanted to butter Chris up about something.
Oh, okay. Did you get a chance to?
Yeah.
Ah, good.
I'm ashamed to say I didn't get to that. I was at Silverstone on Saturday, and then Brooklyn's filming with a lovely Sarah Crabtree yesterday. So I didn't have a bad weekend.
It's all happening at once, isn't it? I've seen some great stuff coming from Silverstone, and Sarah's been everywhere.
Right, I was going to say Sarah was there on Saturday, so she's fairly been bouncing around the country.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway, so that's the events, car shows that happened at the weekend. There were obviously motorsport events. Cammy, I know you were at Brands. Were you supporting Charlie and the Prague guys down there?
Yeah, yeah. Barger sort of invited me along anyway. I was able to go down into the pit garage. Got to meet Jimmy Broadbent. That was nice. He was shorter than I imagined, actually. I kind of imagined him as this. I imagine everyone is taller than me. But he's about 5'5", so it's quite cute. Yeah, met Charlie again. It was lovely to see her, as well as Richard Morris, sort of founder of Racing Pride, in his Praga. Yeah, then obviously the weekend went tragically wrong. I was one of my Fordzilla friends had said, "Oh, I'm at the event. I didn't know you were here. I'm here. I'm in the grandstand," and sort of by Paddock Hill Bend. So I thought, okay, yeah, I'll just come find you. None of my friends are in this race, so I'm not too worried about missing it. And as I walked under the tunnel, and I was telling my friends earlier that day, going, "Did you know this is the tunnel where they filmed Rush?" And they're going, "Ooh," and taking pictures of a tunnel. I sort of came out the other side, and no cars were racing, and there were ambulance on the track, and I didn't realize what had happened, and that was racing done for the day. It was,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think for anyone who doesn't know, there was a tragic event, and a volunteer marshal lost their life.
Yeah, it was an 80s sort of classic car race, sort of cars from 80s and 90s, and sort of, I'd guess, a 95 Ford Escort, sort of the bubbly shaped one. It sort of dinged doors with a car ahead of it. They sort of banged doors. He went out onto the grass, couldn't get it back, hit the barrier. The car went end over end and flipped maybe 5 or 6 times very quickly, as he'd been doing 100 miles an hour or more. And it just slammed into the marshal post.
Yeah, I think we've seen a massive outpouring on social media of support for marshals, and a reminder that these guys do this to make sure that motorsport can continue. And I'm not sure if you guys have got anything orange to hand, but if you have, it'd be great to just hold it up to the camera, just to show the support. If not to worry, but just kind of, it's not going to work on the camera. Yeah, I think we're all here to support the Orange Army, and a fantastic job that they do to keep everything going. And I'm sure lessons will be learned from this, and Ian's got a fantastic thing there. I saw your post about that, Ian. And Cammy, sorry.
It's supposed to be orange, but hang on, let me do it. Why is it? Then there we go. There we go. It's so bright, it doesn't.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think that kind of sums us all up here as we appreciate everyone.
Now I'm in the dark.
I'd like to just highlight Ian's tribute that he did, post on social media as well. That was very moving, Ian.
Well, I mean, the thing is, none of it, being part of the, it's a family of people that, normally I'm at touring car and whatnot, and it's and a lot of the marshals come over to the stand and buy stuff, and you kind of take these guys and girls for kind of not say granted, you just expect them to be there, and without them there, we can't, nobody can be there, because we need that safety at the track. And it's very sad. And I felt it was right to do something at the time, and it just kind of zoned out and just did the little drawing. So very sad.
Very sad, but again, hopefully like lessons will be learned, and again, more appreciation for what these marshals are doing for us. So were you there at the track as well, Ian, or were you somewhere else?
I was at Silverstone, so Silverstone Classic. Okay. So I was down there doing my final event with Adrian Flux over the weekend. So and then previous to that, it was I was at Goodwood and various other events. It's been a very busy few weeks of creating, but it's just great to be back out, and like I say, with the events you've been at and whatnot, it's just great to see folk and catch up with people, and it's been really lovely to meet people who I've done drawings for, like who I spoke via Instagram with or whatever, and and see them, at the track. So it's super cool to do that and continue doing this as an event at events. Has been a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, and I bet, and it must have been quite nice to kind of, I believe it was, like you said, the last event with Adrian Flux, because now there's the wheels are in motion for a great new deal that you've managed to put together, for what I can make out.
Yeah, I'm working with a company called Heritage Car Insurance, who are based in Birmingham. But they've, really right to say they've approached me. They've been after what I've been doing for a while. And so they also do commercial policies, so they cover my studio and whatnot. And also, when you've got a heavily modified car, it's good to have a direct line to your insurers to go to any problems you might have with the guys with the blue lights on top, to say, well, this is my insurance company, and they know about it. So it's So it's. I mean, the Flux have been brilliant. Yeah, they've been great. They've supported me since. I think it was 9 years I was with them. So it was very hard to kind of. Yeah, and I also do Silverstone Classic, and I do with bikes. Sure, I do. I did Motorcycle Live, so 2 big shows. But I think it's an opportunity, and I had to take it. And for the next bit of the business where I want to take it, it's good to have a company involved who want to go on that journey with me. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, exciting times there. Very, very good to hear that you're back out there as well, because I know a lot of good things come from you being locked down and having to rethink what you're doing, and then you created the continuous cars and that kind of project that was all fantastic.
I mean, it was very wet at Silverstone on Friday, but I was very glad to be in a car. So I was in a car dry, and everybody else looked very wet outside. So It was kind of like I just poked my head out, going, "Oh, look a bit wet outside. It's nice and dry in here." So
excellent. Yeah, we've got a little bit of a storm coming over at the moment. I guess near over there in Israel, the weather's probably quite nice, isn't it?
It's too hot, and I don't often say that.
Oh dear, but you've got a lot on your plate at the moment, because you've been teasing us for a while about a project. Have you got any more news for us? Is there anything you can actually tell us?
Of the project I've been teasing you about, no.
Okay.
Other than, I mean, I've been driving it and it's cool, but we still can't show it. The place we were going to show it, we've now decided we're not showing it there either at the moment, so I still can't show you that. What I can talk about is what I couldn't talk about last time. Last time we did a ZoomZoomers, I had literally just got back from the UK a couple of days before. I'd had this very last minute kind of 3-4 day trip to the UK. And what we did there has literally just gone up on YouTube. So let me tell you. Where do I start? It started with a conversation with Jim Cameron of Mission Motorsport. So it was a good few years ago now. And there'd been a piece that Tom Ford had done in Top Gear magazine about a police version of the Sandcat. I should probably put some context here. So I'm the chief designer of a company called Plasan that mostly does armored vehicles. We do a lot of work with composites, but kind of the main crux of the work is armored vehicles. And one of our house products, as opposed to the ones we design and supply for other companies, is a vehicle called the Sandcat, which is about a kind of 7-ton, 10-man armored vehicle. So we'd done this one a couple of years ago in police trim to try and show that it can also be used for police purposes. And it was white with some stripes on it. And between me and Wookie, Tom Ford and Jim Cameron, we started joking about how it was very nearly kind of martini stripes. And wouldn't it be cool to make a Sandcat Agrali? We could do a Sandcat with martini stripes and make this Sandcat Agrali.
It's the most near idea ever.
And well, the problem is that I start joking about this, and Jim Cameron starts joking about this, and at no point did anybody stop us. So The original plan actually was we wanted to donate a vehicle. We wanted to donate a Sandcat to Mission Motorsport, and to let them do what they want with it. You know, turn it into a rally car and put the stripes on and tune it and do cool stuff. But for various legal reasons, we weren't able to donate a Sandcat to Mission Motorsport. Apparently, you're not allowed to just give armored vehicles to registered charities. I don't know what they're worried about, but so we had to knock that on the head, and the idea just kind of went to rest for quite a while, until about 6 months ago, when we were shipping a Sandcat out to the UK for appraisals. It's been, I can't say exactly what it's been doing and with who, but it's been doing the rounds in the UK, being tested and appraised by various potential users. And so I said, okay, well, while it's in the UK, let's line up some other cool stuff for it. So you might have seen about a month ago, Julian Rendell drove it, and there was a great article in Autocar, and in I think the July issue of Top Gear magazine, the one that I think's just gone off sale now. There was a
Nia, you were in everything.
Yeah,
you were in everything.
There
wasn't a magazine where you couldn't see Nia's face.
there was a week when I was in everything, and that was the week where I ended up in the UK, weirdly enough. So I actually bought the Autocar and the Top Gear off the shelf with my own cash there, explaining to the checkout woman at Tesco's why I wanted 2 copies of each. But so while the vehicle was in the UK, I was lining up this stuff, and then I thought, you know what, let's get Jim back on the phone. And to cut a long story short, he put me in touch with one of Mission Motorsport's beneficiaries, a guy called Matt Stringer, who'd just set up a company doing wraps. Basically, they did Matt's Wraps, it's called, and so Matt does wraps and stripes and stuff. So I managed to convince Plaza and the company, our company, to pay Matt to turn the Sandcat into a Sandcat Agrale with martini stripes all over it. And then it became, how do we line everything else up? And so it was actually all a bit last minute in the end. That trip to the UK about a month ago was a real last minute trip. But with the great generosity of the Silverstone Rally School, who let us have their venue, we set up a day for Mission Motorsport. Took the Sandcat Agrale to the Silverstone Rally School and basically let the guys there loose on the Sandcat around the rally track, which was an interesting challenge. It's a very tight rally school track, basically designed for Subaru Imprezas and stuff like that. And a 7-ton rally car was quite a handful around there. Fortunately, Jim Cameron's pretty handy. I mean, I'd done a couple of laps. I'd done a bit of a recce, and I'd asked the guys back here kind of for some tips about how to kind of be the driving instructor essentially for these Mission Motorsport guys. And the guy at work was like, well, you turn the traction control off and maybe take a bit of air out of the tires and put it into manual. I did a couple of laps of this rally track, and I was like, "There's no way in hell I'm turning the traction control off," and I'm certainly not going to start messing around with the tire pressures. This is just going to be a nice, easy drive around the rally track, and we're just going to have a nice, calm, relaxing day. And then Jim Cameron got in the car, and straight away he was like, "Right, where's the traction control button?" Switches the traction control off, puts it into rear-wheel drive. He didn't even want 4-wheel drive. And he just starts nailing it around the track and just made it dance, made it do things that I didn't realize that it could do. And basically go onto YouTube, go into the Mission Motorsport channel now on YouTube and look up this great video of the Sandcat on the
I'll post links to it on our social media for you, so anyone who's watching this can see it. And there's also a video that Ian's done talking about his new sponsors and everything else. So yeah, I'll post this up on our social media pages.
actually, just to wrap up this Sandcat and Ian thing, just finally also, I due to the UK trip, I finally also finally also got hold of this, which Ian did for me, the continuous card drawing.
What number is it?
What number is it? Where will I find that? It's 794. 794.
200 drawings ago.
Yes, it was about 3 months ago. When was it? 3 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that.
Only 200 drawings ago.
Only 200. I know. Sorry, disappointing. I know.
What number are you on now, Ian?
987.
Wow, blimey!
And I've had a guy who's pre-ordered, like he wanted number 1000,
right?
And I was like, I'm not going to sell it to you. So he's pre-ordered 999 from 995 to 999. He's
okay.
So
I should have pre-ordered 666, but I wasn't.
That's Mission Motorsport actually. That's their Mazda MX-5.
Wow, fantastic. Before we kind of chat a bit more about the normal stuff, we've got some red-green questions coming up. We've got the theme, which was kind of automotive hills I die on. Naomi, I'm going to come to you because we haven't seen you in ages. What have you been up to?
I know. It feels like so long. Well, it has been so long since I've been here. And it's so nice to be back. I've missed all of you. It's been bizarre. It's so funny. You know, a year ago we were speaking every week. It's mad to think that we were doing. It's just amazing. What have I been up to? So many really, really, really cool things I'm not allowed to talk about. It's the short answer.
You sound like
which is always my answer. No, but we've been doing some really cool projects, and we're working on launching a racing game at the moment, which is, like, for me, a dream come true and easily one of the coolest campaigns I've ever been involved with. And I can't wait for that to be public because it's super. You'll understand why when you see it, but it's for like a race, someone working in the racing industry, but is primarily a racing fan. I think this is really cool. But yeah, we've been working on some nice projects, and it is nice that you were saying earlier to see the events coming back. I feel so left out over here on my island in Ireland, unable to go anywhere, but things are cracking on. A shout out to Brooklands, by the way. Next weekend have the 95th anniversary of the first ever British Grand Prix. Brooklands relived the next weekend. If anyone can get down, it's going to be amazing. There are cars from every decade racing. They're doing a race start on the traditional start finish straight and then heading on to the members banking. So I think that's going to be, when everyone thinks Brooklands, they think banking. So I think to actually see cars on it will be mind blowing.
Great place anyway, because you got Mercedes-Benz World, you've got the Brooklands Museum. It's a great place to go anyway. If you haven't been, go.
I'm actually going to be there with Racing Pride. So
nice. Yes, amazing. I'm unfortunately still not allowed to, well, I can't travel with COVID, so my business partner gets to go, but it looks like it's going to be a fantastic event, and I can't wait to go to Brooklands myself. I've never got to go, but this particular event looks amazing. And there's a new McLaren exhibit at Brooklands as well with one of the Senna prototypes. So there's some really, really nice cars.
Can I also just point out that there is now a second Heritage Skills Academy at Brooklands underneath the flight hangar, which is doing coach and trim. So the mechanical stuff is up at Bicester Heritage, and the coach and trim will be down there, and they have 6 cohorts lined up for that. So if it's open and there's somebody there when you're down at Brooklands, then do please go and have a look.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Dominic. And I think, for me, Brooklands is one of these places that is continually innovating, as is its ethos anyway. And I think for me, the future of Brooklands is quite exciting. I think there's lots and lots to come. So yeah, anybody who can get to Brooklands, I think should go. But yeah, there's been lots of projects on the go, Damien, some cool ones, some kind of really kind of indirectly exciting ones, like, for example, B-Comp, who I think we work with a composites company. They make sustainable fiber composites. They've been working with McLaren, and Lando Norris has been racing a sustainable composite race seat as of the British Grand Prix, which I think is amazing to start seeing materials like that appearing at the top level of motorsport. And we're also working with YCOM, who've developed the scooter for the new e-scooter championship, the ESC. And you might have seen there was a collective test for that recently. So yeah, there are lots of things going on, big mix of things, but yeah, it's an exciting time, and there's lots coming that I really can't wait to talk about.
Well, it sounds like you haven't got any time to come to events, even if you were able to come to the UK. But the best thing to do, Naomi, if there's no events there, you start one. Have a Navigate Partners get together, like Chris was saying. We just
It'll just be me and Neil Briscoe just hanging out.
Yeah, where's Neil? He's not here today, is he?
No, he couldn't make it
Sneaked off
today.
again. Not to worry, not to worry. Yeah, so it'd be good to have you over here again.
I
at some
can't wait.
point.
Honestly, seeing the crowds at Silverstone, really, it's the first time I've missed, like really regretted not going to a race, and seeing your event at the weekend and everybody there. I just thought I have to go to that event next year. It looked amazing. It really looked great. Looking forward to being able to travel again soon.
Good. Look forward to it. Joe, we haven't spoken to you yet. So, like you said, spreadsheet guy at Stellantis. But surely you've been up to more than just spreadsheets since the last time we've chatted.
Yeah, a couple of events. I think I'm probably the only Zoomer who likes drag racing. So I was at Santa Pod yesterday.
We like drag racing.
Simon,
it's very noisy.
I
I
like
love the
drag
noise.
Santa Pod yesterday for the Mopar Euro Nationals. Bit sad actually because we just arrived there. The cars were all queuing in the firing lanes, and it started raining. So we got to watch all the cars parade past us down the support lane, back into the paddock, and then looked around the show and shine, which was quite well attended, to be fair, but in the rain. And
Do they not run at all in the rain?
you can't run on a drag strip in the rain, unfortunately. So it's the one downside of that motorsport versus most others.
And
the
it
track
does
has to be
rain.
absolutely dry.
It does rain quite a lot at Santa Pod.
It's known for it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's quite exposed. It's an old airfield, so it's exposed. But I think they started racing about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Did you get to see any
I
racing?
was at home.
I
was at home by then. Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing like a top fueler going off at Santa Pod. It is incredible. The noise is incredible.
I keep meaning to ask you, Ian. Have you got any Santa Pod?
Yeah, I did the 50th anniversary artworks over there, so I did a few on. But because that's what I was painting on the floor. Like they put me right next, like I was a parallel to the track, right next to it. So when the cars went off, because I was painting on the floor, it just went through my whole body. But it was a proper noise. It's an amazing thing to witness and see.
Is there something that you've ever wanted to do yourself, Joe?
Well, I have a car that was somebody actually built for drag racing, and I've spent the last 5 years undrag racing it to use it on the street. I could take it down the strip, but I'm very, very, very afraid. Not of crashing it, but of
that Copo Camaro looked amazing, by the way.
Getting addicted to drag racing. That's what I'm afraid of.
Very dangerous.
The obsession.
Because that's all my money gone forever. I'll be at the track every weekend and try to make it a little bit faster, etc. And that's
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to have a friend called Robin Reed, who lives just up the road, who builds top fuelers and various other things. And there's a lot of old drag guys around here who all go and meet in the pub, and they all drive Corvettes and Willys Coupes, and they talk about the days when they could actually get their leg over a drag bike. And they are a breed apart, that's for sure.
The drag bike folk, really, they're just crazy.
Yes, they're the nutters of the drag world.
Yeah.
That's saying something. Yeah.
Can we not have drag scooters so they can get their legs in easier?
It's a Colin Furze one, isn't it? Yeah.
There's a motorsport everywhere. If there's a way of making something quicker than the guy next to you, then there's always going to be
drag mobility scooters.
Can we not set it up that can be one of our days?
I was going to say, absolutely, that's where we should meet.
Because I literally drag race down the slip road onto the M62, so I would love that. That'd be just make my life. That
in your Volvo.
Yeah, in my Volvo. I'm not drag racing in my Volvo, but that's what I do down the M62. Yeah.
Is there electric drag racing aside from those videos you see of someone in a Tesla trying to embarrass people? What is there a class category?
Not commonly. The most famous one is Johnny Smith's. I forget what it was. A little car from the 70s that he made the fastest.
Yeah, it was an Enfield 8000. Yeah, Enfield 8000.
Yeah, amazing car. Look it up on YouTube.
So really, Naomi, it's a really good question. Yeah, it's growing. Every year, I'm a huge, massive drag racing fan. I used to do quite a bit when I had a Nissan Skyline GTI when I was very young. That's where I first lost my license. And yeah, it's really growing, and EV makes such a smart choice for professional drag racing because the way the torque works, you get
And
all
weight
of the grip all of the
distribution,
time.
I would imagine.
Exactly. Great point. Absolutely great point. Yeah, you can pop that wherever you need it. So yeah, every kind of season, there's another sort of 30 or 40 EV specific drag races. There may even be a feeder series that started this year. I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
But it's coming, and it's going to be enormous. Yeah.
When we first started ZoomZoomers, weren't we going to break a land speed record at some point?
Yeah,
Where are we with that?
Well, Chris Sharp's just gone and done other things. He's busy with his Racing Pride stuff now. Because I think he was and Lewis. We're going to use Lewis's Corvette at one point, or were we actually going to try and use Ian's Chevette instead?
That would be cool.
I can't remember. But
we can't afford to repaint that if it gets scratched.
Yeah, I can't afford to do the paint job.
No. Excellent. Before we get on to the red-green questions, which I think Chris has sorted out for us, Richard, I haven't got around to talk to you yet. I caught up with you at the festival, which was fantastic to see, and to kind of introduce you to everybody, and that was all great. But what have you been up to since the last ZoomZoomers?
Lots of electric stuff, writing about the battery systems in the Extreme E cars,
which is a brilliant article, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Onboard charging, and also electric boats, which was a new one for me. I didn't realize it was such a populated kind of market, really. That is, again, about to take off, I think. Certainly in the Nordic countries.
Oh, really?
Okay. Because they need ferries that are low carbon and zero emission. And a lot of it comes from the infrastructure at the dockside. So large boats they can't have too big batteries because obviously A, they have to float, and B, they have to go backwards and forwards all day. So a lot of their stuff is done dockside charging really fast and autonomously as well. So because that saves so much time, rather than having someone manually guide the boat in, connect it up and stuff like that. So that was very interesting. Lots more EV stuff this month. Kind of other projects, that corporate type stuff that might come off, we're hoping. So yeah. Oh, and car looking as well. Car searching. Well, no, kind of not car searching because of COVID, but yeah.
Yeah. So you lost a car recently to the scrap heap in the sky.
Yeah, so weekend Nia was here actually, because Nia was texting me on the side of the road saying, "Could you come at this certain place?" So yeah, that was a month ago. So yeah, that was
right.
Yeah, but COVID is just making everything just a little bit more difficult, and the prices seem to be quite a bit higher as well.
Yeah, the prices are a bit weird at the moment. It's like, is this the time to join before everything goes out of reach, or is this above where they should be and about to drop?
I think it's above, certainly for normal cars, above where they should be, hopefully because of COVID.
Partly COVID and partly the chip shortage.
Yeah,
that's true.
So all the pressure on new cars that they can't build, and then it just floats down all the various used car sort of price bands, and everything just shifts itself up. And coupled with the fact that people don't want to take public transport like they used to.
Yeah,
add those two things together.
I mean, I can use another car anyway, so that's good. But I'm so it might pay me to wait a little while, but I'm so impatient.
When you talk about electric boats, would that sort of mean ferry type systems as well?
Yeah, there's the article I wrote features little a boat in Plymouth that does about 4 or 5 people. There are massive, bigger ferries. And there's someone said about autonomous cargo boats. They actually have no driver, and they just run and they dock themselves, and the lorries on there are autonomous too. So it's all very, very interesting.
I mean, I'd work in places that even like around Sydney Harbour and the Puget Sound, around Seattle. I mean, the ferries are literally just to and fro the whole day.
I think it's been mandated in places like Switzerland for years and years on the lakes that they had to be, and this is very old technology now, but I remember talking to one company that was creating electric, like pleasure cruisers as sort of the high end stuff. And they also they were working on the infrastructure. And one of the difficulties was that installing a charger is incredibly expensive anyway. And then doing it in a highly desirable location, marina location, where real estate is even higher again, that it's more about the infrastructure is almost prohibitive more so than the technology in the boat, which I hadn't thought about.
Yeah.
I used to get the semi-electric ferry between Helsingborg in Sweden and Helsingør in Denmark, and it was really cool. But it wasn't so much that you noticed that it was electric; it was the little charging arms that came out that lived in a little box where the little door automatically opened. Really cool, but you think there would have been cheaper just having someone just put a great big plug in, really. To be honest. So
that's what I like about writing these things, is the fact that you find out so much stuff that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, you've probably got to have a person to be paid to actually be some kind of mechanical, like electronic or mechanical engineer to actually look after that arm.
It's also safer. It's also safer too to have the autonomous thing, because if something trips or the charge goes, then there's no one there to be hurt. So.
Donald Trump told me they have wonderfully clean coal. Aren't they using clean coal for boats now?
You try and persuade the Swedes. That's a good idea. Go on.
I don't know how they made clean coal, but that was what he claimed.
I have to show you guys, when we're talking about ferries, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but I live in Kingston, we have a ferry. I'm just going to share it with you because it's quite the beast. This could be electric. How about that?
Wow. Nice. Look at that.
Wow. Oh, it's majestic. Like a floating skip.
Yeah. But yeah, to get from one side of the river to the other here, you can use the bridge, which is a mile that way, or you can just use the ferry. But it's quite funny.
Using old i3 batteries. So it
it should be done for a ferry like that. If we could, definitely.
What if everyone just pedalled and it turned a propeller? Then it's.
Can you just have a big rope, just like pull like that?
I don't know. Well, when the tide, because the river here is tidal, and when the tide's out, you basically can almost walk across the river anyway. So you have to walk all the way up to the boat, and then one of the ferry guys literally stands outside the boat and pushes it to the other side. It's quite a spectacle. Anyway, we're getting off topic, and we've got some things to get through. So I'm going to cut
amazingly tonight.
I know, as we always do. I'm going to cut to Chris, who hopefully has around 10 red and green questions. So Dominic,
everybody bring their red and green things.
Oh, you can't see it because I'm just going to have to shout red or green.
Okay, everybody ready? The Mazda 121 was effectively a rebadged Fiesta. Green for yes, red for no.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Which generation was that?
Depends when.
I think everyone. It was just a starter question. All right, they're going to get harder.
Near's saying no, but his mic's off, so I can't hear him.
Is he going to say about the?
There was a generation that was, but that wasn't the original one. There was the one that was the Ford Festiva, and then there was the one that was the Ford Fiesta. So the answer is actually yes and no, I think.
Correct.
And the Festiva and that generation was also the Kia Pride.
Correct. The average British driver will spend 100 days of their life stuck in traffic. Green for yes, red for no.
Oh, so this is actually
I'm nervous you're going to say it's actually much higher.
Yeah.
The average driver.
No, I think it's
British
more.
I think it's going to be higher.
That's 100 days. Correct. It's green.
Is it 100 days? Okay.
Yeah. Before setting up on his own mark, Horatio Pagani worked for which Italian supercar manufacturer? Was it green Ferrari or red Lamborghini?
Well, this is a bit confusing.
Yeah, green Ferrari.
Okay, number 4. The word car comes from carus, the Latin for green, two-wheeled, or red, four-legged.
Oh, come on. We're not the Prime Minister. How are we expected to know this?
Come on,
I thought
you
it
can
just
figure
came
it
from
out.
automated carriage. carriage. I thought it was just like carriage.
It's
Can't remember what
green.
the options were.
It means
Green,
two
yeah.
wheeled, not four.
How silly.
Hang on, what was the answer to the Pagani Lamborghini one?
It was Lamborghini. He was
Ah.
a special projects and composites manager for Lamborghini. Eventually, he worked his way up.
Yeah, I could see the Lambo influence. Sorry.
The man who invented cruise control was green, blind, or red, deaf. It's green, blind. He was blind. I think that's awesome.
Amazing.
The most accident-prone car ever produced, based on figures from cars.com, based on insurance data, is green, the Tata Nano, or red, the Ferrari 458 Spider.
I'm going to go against my gut here.
Yeah, done the same. I guess is that percentage based on sales by chance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Ferrari. It's the Ferrari.
I'm assuming they just catch
Oh,
fire
was
or
that red or
something.
green?
That was
So
red.
that-
Red.
Caterham produced a limited edition car after which Formula One driver? Was it green, Damon Hill, or red, Kamui Kobayashi? Kobayashi. Yeah, it was red. It's Kobayashi. It's an amazing looking car. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Awesome looking thing.
And an awesome driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a good lad as well.
Yeah. The Lancia Delta was sold in Scandinavian countries as green, an Alfa Romeo, or red, a Saab.
I'm just going to follow Near here because he looked really
Yeah,
confident.
There was a follow my leader kind of going on.
I think everyone got that one right. This is another one for Nia. Fiat is named after Mr. Alonso Fiat. Green, true, or red, false?
Fix it again tomorrow.
Oh, Fiat drivers love that one. That's a really
Yeah.
popular one. Yeah.
And the last one's just a bit of fun. I was once taught a lesson at uni by Jackie Stewart. True or false?
What, you
Or
Chris,
is that
or
from, are we
us?
chancing for ourselves?
Me.
Gotta be green because you just gotta be
Yeah,
flexing. That's it, Jackie
weird
Stewart
thing to
flexing.
bring
That
up.
is.
It was amazing. He came into my university to teach us.
What was it, like home economics or something?
No, I was it's university, mate. I was studying car design, and he came in as a
Sewing.
yeah, sewing.
I thought it was tartan weaving for beginners.
He came in just to literally just as spur of the moment thing, and did a lesson on his car history and what he thinks is good design and all of this sort of stuff. Really cool.
And how to make kedgeree.
His memoirs are
thanks for
really
that.
interesting if you've never read them, by the way, folks. It's
What,
really
sorry?
good. His memoirs and sort of autobiography, really good. Really,
Yeah, he
really
changed
interesting.
a lot. You know, he actually had to kind of lead the way on so many different things, and yeah, a great history. His shooting days and everything like that. He's passionate about shooting, and he always lives in a house called Clayton, I think, because of shooting clays and doing the ton. So I think all the houses he's owned are called Clayton.
Dyslexic and dyspraxic as well.
Yeah, good, interesting guy, definitely. Okay, before we move on to the theme of the month, which was automotive hills with Dion. So opinions, we're going to stand by no matter how many times people try and talk us out of them. Having a guest on ZoomZoomers means we have to do the track day owned scrap wheel. So Dom, I'm not sure if you've ever seen ZoomZoomers before, but what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring up another screen, and it's going to bring up a wheel which will randomly select 3 different vehicles for you to then decide whether you're going to own one, track day one, and then scrap one. So one's got to go in the bin, one you get to own, and one you get to do a track day in. So if someone give me a thumbs up when they see the track day own scrap wheel, thanks Naomi. All right, I'm just going to spin this 3 times for you, Dom, and then we'll have a chat about what you want to do. So the first vehicle that's popped up there is a Vauxhall VX220 Turbo. So that's the first of your 3 choices. Vauxhall VX220 Turbo. Second car, one of these sold recently for a heck of a lot of money. Lancer Evo 6 Mackinnon edition. So you've got a VX220, a Tommy Mackinnon, and your third vehicle. You're all the red cars today, so I see it before you guys do. A Porsche 993, I think that might be a GT2 or something like that, but a very, very fast version of the Porsche 993. So a Vauxhall VX 220 Turbo, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6 Mackinnon, and that Porsche. So you get to keep one. One you get to do a track day in, and the other one you have to throw in the bin. What are you going to go for?
Oh, well, that's easy. I'm going to scrap the Vauxhall. I'm going to track the Porsche, and I want the Evo.
Yeah. It's quite a sensible choice, that really. Did you hear what that one just sold for at auction?
I was at the Silverstone auction when Tommy Mackinnon #1 came up, and it was one hell of a car.
Yeah.
One hell of a car.
Is it the ex-Mitsubishi one?
Yes.
Oh, I've driven that one, yeah.
How much did it go for out of interest?
I didn't hang around because I never register for auctions. I always walk out before it starts. I wander around and look at everything and do my fantasy lottery win stuff. And then I don't register. I usually am in there with people who have a card whose hand I can hold up if I get desperate. But I've learned from experience, just walk.
Yeah. I was just having a quick look because we were talking about it earlier at work. So it was well over 100 grand though. It was. Yeah,
I mean, the auction. Just to get off topic a little bit, the auctions at the moment. I mean, there was a 3-litre Bentley that went for about 2/3 of what everybody would thought it would make, and then the modern stuff. You know, I've got a Gen 1 Celica and a Clio Williams. That kind of stuff is going off the scale. It's just the way the generations are moving, and I think it's going to keep doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here we go. The Mackinnon edition made £146,000. So, I mean, here in King's Lynn, that'll get you a decent house. So, incredible.
Being a Norfolk boy, and having gone to college and done my A-levels at Norcat, I know King's Lynn very well.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I'm in West Lynn, so I don't really class that as proper King's Lynn.
Oh, the posh bit.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that. Yeah, it does mean we have to get the ferry to get across, though, doesn't it? So, it's good to know that you
when you buy the house, do you get the trips on the boat included or not?
No, you don't. No, you have to pay your £1.20 like everyone else. Oh, fantastic! So we're scrapping the Vauxhall. You're going to track day the Porsche and then keep the Mackinnon. Excellent.
Just actually quickly, is that £1.20 a year for that ferry?
It is for me because I never use it. So it's
£1.20 actually buys the ferry. That's yours after that.
You know it's a bad day when the guy asks you to give him a piece of silver.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so the theme of this month, hopefully we've had a little bit of time to think about it. And I know we're past 9 o'clock already, so I'll try and keep it moving quickly. Automotive opinions. So we say, I'll die on this hill. These automotive opinions where you chuck them out there, and no matter what anyone says, people they can't change your mind about it. So Chris, you're smiling away. I bet you've got one ready, haven't you?
I have, yeah, and I know that I'm going to have some people respond to it. The French produce the best-looking cars.
Okay. Says the head of the Peugeot Sports Club marketing thing.
Yeah. I've written down a couple of other ones, and they're also going to be a little bit controversial. VWs are overpriced because of hype and nostalgia.
Okay.
Looking at Rich there.
And the last one is Ferraris look best in any color apart from red.
Oh, okay. You know what? We could be doing red green for these opinions, couldn't we? Really? So
Yeah.
go through those again.
Is it the theme where we're supposed to be dying on a hill? What's going on? I don't understand this.
Don't worry. It's just like, if you've got an opinion where you firmly believe it, and no matter what anyone says, you won't change your mind. It's usually an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
You say, "Oh, I'll die on this hill," but don't worry, LA. Don't worry. It's okay. Are you right?
I actually thought you sort of wanted some kind of racetrack or something that you'd think like, yeah, this is the best racetrack in the world, and I'd die on this hill.
That in
if
itself
that's-
is a strong enough opinion to count.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do some red green then with Chris's one. So if you want to go through those, was it 3 of them? The
yeah.
French cars.
So French
Okay.
produced the best looking cars.
I also
I
have
knew
a
it would-
Peugeot.
And then my second one was VWs are overpriced because of hype and nostalgia.
Everyone but the VW.
Sorry,
fan, right?
Rich.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Rich.
Love you lots.
I worked for them. They're great cars. They're fantastic, but they are overpriced for what they are compared to
Okay.
what you can get elsewhere. And then I put Ferraris look best in any color other than red.
It depends on the Ferrari for me. I think, the 4-seater ones look best in greys and things, but I think the sporty ones, I've got to go. They have to be red.
Does it though? I felt that to begin with, and then as I went through it in my mind, it was just like, no, actually,
Let
I think
me,
will look
let
better
me
in-
show you
Nice
one.
yellow Ferrari.
I
Yellow,
like the
yellow,
yellow.
yellow.
Yeah, I like the
Yellow, and occasionally blue.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yellow and
that
blue. Yeah, totally agree.
Didn't that blue F40 look amazing? The one that
Yes.
sold for $1
Beautiful.
million plus.
Insane.
Absolutely.
Prior to it being blue, it was actually it was a modified. It was just slammed and all sorts. So the history of it is really interesting. That it was never red. It's always been a modified Ferrari, and that blue is Porsche blue from his GT3 or GT2 RS. So.
And that's one of your continuous card runs. I think you did of that actual F40 BLU. Oh, he's probably got it to handle it.
Oh, you've got the hand, yeah. So one of these. Hang on. Bear with.
If you've ever seen Sissy Muldoon's, there it is.
Beautiful.
I said, if you've ever seen Sissy Muldoon's Cadbury's Purple Dino,
Yes.
That's nice.
It was at the last Bicester.
and it's an original color. It's this. She calls it viola. It's this original metallic purple, proper Cadbury's purple color, and it's absolutely glorious.
Oh,
She actually came along to the Heritage Skills Academy at the last, when I was supporting them at the last scramble, having parked that up, got out looking absolutely amazing, walked up and said, "Can I do an apprenticeship?" And she was perfectly willing to do it, I think.
We should ask her on, actually. She's a fascinating woman, don't you?
Yeah, feel free to put the word out there. That sounds good. Actually, Neil, while I've got you then, have you got an opinion that you'd like to share?
I've got lots of opinions, but this one's going to lose me followers.
Oh, I like this one.
The E-Type is just not a pretty car. The E-Type is a caricature of a beautiful sports car rather than an actual beautiful sports car. The proportions are all wrong. It's underwheeled, and it's a caricature. The bonnet's too long, and especially the hardtop version, it's just disproportionate. It's not a pretty car.
I respond with the Eagle E-Type.
I was going to say, yeah.
That's
Is that
not
any
the
better?
original E-Type though.
Yeah.
It's had some of those things solved.
Exactly. It's had all that kind of stuff solved.
Did the hardtop come first? Or I can't remember.
No,
I
it
think
was
it
the
did.
77 RW to Cabriolet came first.
The Cabrio came first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cabrio certainly looks better than the hardtop.
Yeah, Norman Lewis drove it from Cardiff down to Geneva.
It was a hard top. It was a hard top. The first one from Geneva
it was 77 RW is definitely a soft top, definitely.
But that's not the one that went from Geneva, because the one that went from Geneva was a hard top that was dark grey. And there's
there's going to have to be some Googling.
There's a book
Now we're getting into some proper Zoom stuff, aren't we?
Oh, I need to
The
get
gloves
rid of-
are off.
No.
How do I
The
mute
follow-on-
Ian and Chris?
Definitely 77 RW.
The follow-on hill is the E-Type is the first hot hatch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, Simon's got a hot hatch from about the 1920s.
I was about to say,
that
until
he
we
always
bring the
digs out.
Taptra into it, but
Yeah. Cool. Fantastic. Actually, come on then, Simon. Have you got one of these opinions?
Oh, I have a couple, but I'm a massive hypocrite with one of them. So, but the one I'm going to stick with, the one I'm going to stick with. Oh, he's a hardtop. Oh, I thought it was a roadster. They're not convertibles; they're roadsters, but those 2 seats. Yeah. So I think this is very much a UK based one. Left-hand drive cars are not harder to drive here. They get a bad rap for no reason, and that's any era. That doesn't matter. That's my opinion. They they're not worth as much. People turn their noses up at them for no reason at all. They're better. They're easier for overtaking, safer for overtaking because you're on the same side as the thing you're overtaking. And you can step out when you park your car onto a curb rather than a road. So they're not worse. And the other one that I'm a massive hypocrite for is estate cars are all of the car you'll ever need for daily transport. Doesn't matter what it's powered by. You don't need an SUV. Yes, I daily drive a Land Rover. And that's me, done.
I definitely agree with the estate car thing. The left-hand drive thing, have you got a left-hand drive car for sale, Simon? Is that what it's all about?
Sounded like it.
Oh yes, I have actually. Yeah, but I can't
tell
you about it next month. Yeah. I'll tell you. Yeah, the DVLA have been kind. They've been kind. Yes. And I'm not punting.
Does anyone else feel like Cammy's going to poke their eye out with a red thing?
I think Cammy was coming at me with a screw. Was that a screwdriver you were coming at me with?
It was because my iPad's on charge and it's quite heavy to lug up, then get the red image up, and then hold it in front of the camera, and then wait for the camera lighting to adjust. I was like, just grab the first screwdriver there. And Nature Valley wrapper.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Following up from your point, Si, then what about, are we calling them estates, or is it cooler to call them wagons or shooting brakes, or what are there different rules for using each?
I mean, wagon is the US term for estate. Now, what is the difference between a shooting brake and an estate? I don't know.
Is it
Does anyone know?
No,
is it the amount of
what someone
a proper shooting brake? A proper shooting brake is based on a coupe. It's an estate. It's a 3-door estate version of a coupe. That's a proper shooting brake.
Yeah.
So, a hearse, does that count as a shooting brake? Because they're 2 doors.
With a hearse, sorry.
It's not. It wasn't based on a coupe.
I've not seen a coupe one.
I like hearses. I do. Any era, I do.
You'll get to go in one.
I'm tempted. Oh no, yeah.
Well, especially when they're left-hand drive.
Left-hand drive hearse, Simon is happy.
That must go down so well with the wedding hire customers.
It's chalk and cheese. Chalk and cheese. 4 weddings and the inevitable. Yeah.
Full service.
All right, Cammy, come on then. Let's have you got an opinion there?
With the advent of Formula E, hybrid technology has no place in Formula One.
Oh, okay.
I think Formula One be a race series, not a the electric thing. Oh, I've woken up Siri. I'm not sure how, but yeah, hybrid have no place in Formula One.
I kind of disagree because Formula One's mostly being used to develop, vehicles, road vehicles for the future. And so it's still ahead in front, and it's still creating that development for road cars. So that's the only reason why I put my red up.
Fair enough. That's the only hill I'd die on. It's like when you said electric drag racing. I was like, no, I couldn't imagine that lack of noise. Just
I must admittedly at Silverstone, because I went years ago when it was V10s. I think it was V10s, but V8s, whatever. But there was a even though it was a long time ago, I distinctly remember having to put my earplugs in on the first few laps while there were so many cars passing at that exact same time, because the decibel, it was just too much. And I was on the start finish line pretty much, and they all set off, and I was just sat there like that.
I've had to do that at the historic Masters Grand Prix, where they're just pretty much, they should just call it the DFV festival. They're just running Cosworth DFVs, but they're deafening, where it's the point, it's not an engine sound anymore. It's just painful white noise.
Right.
Until the cars sort of round the corner.
That's a hill to die on. That the DFV doesn't sound very nice.
Yeah, I mean, even
though
the cars were much slower, it was quite exciting to kind of hear the engine sounds of the W series and the Formula 2, because their engine sounds so very, very different.
Yes,
you know, almost like that backfiring. I don't really know what the correct term is, but you know, you'll hear that engine banging along as they
spitting. Yeah,
yes,
a good WEC race is good for that. Any kind of P2 car or some of the GTs are phenomenal for that.
There's even been a difference since I last I was at Singapore, can't remember what year, could have been 2017 or something like that, 16, 17. And even from then, some of the cars that sounded a little bit rough, even can't remember if it was the Ferraris or the Red Bulls, might have been the Red Bulls, they sounded quite rough back then. And even they were just not sounding the same, you know, and just a handful of just 3-4 years later.
That Renault engine's going to blow up. They weren't going to finish the race, that was why.
I still can't get the idea of a DFV festival out of my head. Dom, you're connected. Can you organise that for us, please, buddy? Because that's, I
think it does exist. I'm sure that happened at Brands Hatch.
The noise at the Classic was just absolutely phenomenal. And I tend to hide behind the hill with my opinions, but I'm gonna say current battery EV technology is going to be a very short-term stepping stone, and that inside the next decade, with that particular technology, Batterygate will happen in the same way Dieselgate did.
Right. So the future for you is internal combustion, but with fuels which are more sustainable.
I think there's so much more to come. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have gone up to JCB and seen that direct hydrogen injection engine they've been developing. I don't think I'm from the renewables heating industry, which I've been doing for the last 25 years. So I've watched technology come and go. I've watched the Great Messiah come and go about 4 times. And I think it's going to be a number of things, depending on the environment, depending on what the local resource is, and depending on the logistics. There is not a one-stop shop on this.
Hyundai have already started selling a car last month. That's the first hydrogen production car in Sydney. But again, at the moment, the problem is the infrastructure. But it's amazing because Hyundai is showing pumps in partnership with one of the petrol companies. I can't remember who it is, but this pump will actually find the filler cap, open the filler cap, fill it with hydrogen so that you don't have to do it. You don't have to touch anything because the fuel comes out at such a low temperature that it can burn you. To keep it in the liquid.
I think Alan is itching.
Sorry, I just always have a thing on this one because I get so mad with people only focusing on EV. So I'm kind of with Dom on this. But if you've ever filled up with hydrogen, it is so much safer than filling up with petrol. Just the whole thing. You look at a hydrogen pump and you go, wait a minute, we slosh inflammable liquid around.
Americans pour their petrol in a carrier bag.
Well, yeah, exactly. Just fill up the back of your pickup truck. But you do it in a hydrogen. Everyone's, every time you mention a hydrogen car, some smart ass comes up and mentions the Hindenburg. Yeah, it happened. You've got to get through a hydrogen car review without mentioning exploding airships. But it's so easy, and so you put it on, you do it. It does its stuff. It makes sure there's no leaks. It is so much safer than petrol.
It's so abundant, hydrogen. It's so abundant in the universe.
Yeah, it's the tricky bit is making sure you get the sustainably producing the hydrogen. That's the bit that's becoming easier. And you're right, infrastructure, but hydrogen station is containerized. Basically, you just drop it.
Yeah, there's a network of
chicken and egg. That's the whole thing.
Stations,
infrastructure isn't hard once there's critical mass.
We've got a few EV owners in front of us here, but I'm going to go to Richard because your figure's really on the pulse with EVs. Do you think that they have got a shorter life than a lot of people hope?
I wouldn't say short life, but through talking to people in the engineering industry, I do know a lot of people. They do say it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, and there will be people who will need a combustion engine. There will be people who will need electric, and there will be people who needs hydrogen. There are people working on 3-piston engines that use sustainable fuels. So yeah, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all thing.
No, and there's room for a lot of different things, a lot of different solutions, and this is what we see in motor vehicles generally. Like I say, whenever we talk to Neil, he's talking about his latest project. It's completely different from what we drive every day, but there's a need for all these different types of things, and a need for lots of different types of solutions for fuel for different situations. Depends how developed a country is, for example, and what infrastructure they've got. So I imagine there's probably something will probably end up, in a couple of 100 years' time being the default thing. But I guess we're going for a period where there are a lot of solutions. And
hydrogen in a military vehicle sounds terrifying, though.
But why does it? Because
Why?
again, are you kind of thinking of 100 years ago?
Jet fuel at the
I guess
moment.
so. I guess so.
What's that? Neil got jet fuel at the moment.
They use jet fuel at the moment, so I don't think hydrogen's any scarier than that.
No.
Was somebody, after the point that Alan made, people do bring up the Hindenburg. I'd like to point out the Hindenburg wasn't powered by it; it was just filled with it.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, back to unpopular opinion. Oh, not unpopular opinions. Things that let's stick with Richard then. If you got an opinion there that you'd like to share?
Well, I think I said this in the group chat actually a while ago. Ferraris are the default supercar, and I've never really liked them. I would always, although I haven't driven many, I'd always choose a Porsche over a Ferrari every time. I just don't get the whole Ferrari thing.
I'd have said Porsches were the default supercar. Whenever anyone goes, I'm going to buy a supercar, they buy a 911.
Maybe.
Interesting. I always think Ferrari too.
Yeah, to me, Ferrari, it's like the thing that you would say is a cliche, or when I win a lottery, I'll get a Ferrari. And
I've just never seen the appeal. I don't know why.
Same.
There you go.
Fair enough. Excellent.
Is
Joe,
it perhaps people that don't necessarily know about cars assume Ferrari is the perfect supercar, but those that do know different? And I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a sort of top trumps thing, isn't it?
It's that quote from
Ferrari
Gone
has
in
a
60 Seconds from Nicolas Cage, where he talks about the people who buy modern Ferraris versus the people who buy classic Ferraris. I'll let you look up the quote because it's slightly rude. But,
I think you'd probably have to be relatively discerning to pick out the latest Porsche, perhaps, or the maddest Porsche. Whereas a sort of armchair car nut will know the latest Ferrari, won't they?
I don't know, the latest Ferraris are kind of merging into each other now.
They are.
Ferrari has a romance to it. That's the difference. I think when I was a kid, I actually liked Porsche much more than Ferrari. But there's a certain romance and history and heritage to Ferrari that they might have ignored a little bit too much recently. I think you actually see it quite so much in the modern Ferraris because they're actually trying to compete with a plethora of alternatives, whether it's McLarens and modern Lamborghinis and stuff. Whereas for such a long time they were pretty much on their own, and there are now good alternatives which they didn't used to be.
And is it true that does it go back as far as if you go to the classic Ferraris and classic Porsches, like for like, dollar for dollar, would you still feel the same, Rich, or anything?
I think so. Whether that's because I've written about Porsches, maybe that might skew things a little bit. But even when I was growing up as a teenager, Ferraris just had no appeal whatsoever. Same as well.
Look at Richard.
No, his connection's going.
We've lost Rich, have we?
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Oh,
hello, Richard.
I just said that the same as F1 too. When I was growing up, F1 had no interest to me at all. It was all about rally cars because they were more like the cars you could see on the road, and that's still kind of true now. I guess. So.
Did you like touring cars?
Yeah, but rally was always my thing, I suppose.
Okay.
So as a kid, you can be going, Dad, do a slide. No, get me in trouble.
When I was doing my degree, I went to Italy and visited Ferrari and Lamborghini. When we went to Ferrari, basically we went into the Ferrari museum and they just went, there's the cars, have a look. And then when we went to Lamborghini, they had a little goodie bag for us each with a little bull pin badge inside. And at the time, the Murcielago had just been released and I hadn't seen one yet. So they put on a translator for us to, if we had any questions, we could actually ask this lady and ask about the cars. They'd put all this on for us. I asked her, can we see a Murcielago? And then literally about 10 minutes later, there was a noise outside. Brand new Murcielago turned up outside in this amazing turquoise green color. And the test driver gave me the keys to go and have a little look around. And that for me changed my view entirely. As a kid, I was always Ferrari. But from then on, I've always been Lamborghini, just because of the way they treated me when I went to visit them.
Wasn't Lamborghini made in just to spite Ferrari?
That's the story. Yes.
So it sounds like they're still doing that.
Ferruccio Lamborghini had a Ferrari 330, I think it was.
That's it.
Had a problem, and he went to Enzo because Enzo had, he knew who Ferruccio was, because Ferruccio had already made his fortune with machinery and tractors and everything else.
Yeah.
And had this problem with his car, and Ferrari just basically said, no, if you don't like it, there's the door, kind of thing. And he went, right, I'm going to set up my own company that's going to take you on. And then he came up with the 350 GT with a lot of other very talented people. And actually the V12 engine that was in the 350 went on as far as Murcielago or Aventador. And they just kept developing and developing and developing. Amazing.
And so inspired were you came straight home and bought a Peugeot.
There's a little thing called a budget, I guess.
Nothing says passion like French Union built cars.
I would have a Miura SV if I had the money, but I don't.
Oh, great stuff. Joe, let's cut to you then. Before we wrap it all up, have you got an opinion that you'd like to stick your neck out with?
So those striping indicators on some modern cars, particularly VW Group cars, that don't just flash, it moves along. Those are distracting and should be banned.
Indicators are there for a purpose; they're not a design thing.
Yeah.
No, I think if they get your attention, they're working.
But if they get your attention and keep your attention because you're watching them, that's pointless. I mean,
people need to use them first.
And they'll definitely get your attention when it's not £4 for a bulb, it's £2,000 for a whole light unit.
Oh yeah. Is this a concern, Dom, about the future of classic cars, that they're just going to be pointless trying to repair the thing, so they're just going to go in the bin? The whole car. I mean, it's just like there's something minor's gone wrong, but it's going to cost me thousands of pounds. I might as well just get a new car.
I think it's a worry, not with most of the old stuff I love, but I think it's a case of there is a whole market developing now to deal with, and Neil will know better than this than me because it's something I talk to people like Ralph Hosier about. Where you have got the first and second generations of ECUs that were designed on green screens and things, in a lot of cases, people weren't very careful about making sure that we kept that equipment that we needed. It just got lobbed in skips when dealers got shut down. And there's a whole new industry of very clever people having to coming in and completely relearning those sets of skills. It's one of those things where we didn't look after information, and that just keeps coming up and up again. It's not just our industry.
Right.
I think 3D printing might save some of that. There's metal 3D printing now, so somebody only needs to model the part in 3D, print it out, and you've got it. We fixed an office chair like that at work once.
Yeah, well, that's definitely. I mean, my son works for a company called Classic Performance Engineering based up at Bicester, and they look after the Formula Ferguson P1 car that Sterling Moss won at Aintree with, which is one of one. And the four-wheel drive transfer box on that decided to throw a bit of a wobbly, and they pulled all the bits out, they glued them all back together, they 3D scanned them, and they remanufactured them with the wear built in so it wouldn't break the rest of the box.
Wow.
Couldn't have done that a little while ago.
No,
that's clever.
Okay. So the future is, there's promising things in the future then, definitely. Okay, thanks for that. Ian, how about you?
I didn't really have one until now. Sugar snap peas are an
I did wonder what you were eating.
So sugar snap peas over. I had peanuts and sugar snap peas.
Right.
I enjoyed the peanuts, but I particularly enjoyed the sugar snap. So I think sugar snap peas are green, peanuts are red. What would your preference be on a snack? And that's sugar snap
Okay.
with the skin on. You can't take the pea out. So
I'm not
the
sure
new
what the
pub snack.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
looking
should they be
on.
a-
I
oh,
was
okay.
green, I was green with envy looking on because I could tell there was some kind of peas or beans, and I'm
Yeah,
sitting
so-
there thinking, oh, they
It,
look
it
really nice.
reminds me of being at my granddad's house when I was much younger, and I used to go and picking these out out of the garden, and I'd eat them all by the time that we'd go back to the house. I'd have eaten all of these, so they're a bit of a just a comfort blanket. I like sugar snap peas, so peanuts is red and sugar snap peas is green, but I'm going to go for green because they're green, and I've got one left. So
But you were struggling to say it sober. What chance do drunk people at a pub have?
exactly. Yeah, I'm not very. That's why I draw stuff. I don't say stuff because much better.
I love that. I love that. Okay, Naomi. Let's cut to Naomi next. Have you got an opinion that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have a couple of little ones. So the first one, as the quick one, is that brown is the most wholly underrated color for cars, and I think we're time for this one for Ian.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Really big fan of brown on cars. I have to
You
say.
got a bit of support there. I'll go. It is underrated. If you're saying is it good, I would have a different answer. But if you're saying
I'm going to go and see it tomorrow. I'm going to see it.
My I guess proper one, but then I've got one that's more of a red green one at the end. My kind of proper one, which is the most pedantic thing I think I'll ever say, is that there is no place, in my opinion anyway, for chrome fixtures in car interiors, and the reason for that is if you have so traditionally they're around the fan, let's say in your car in the interior, and the one closest to your wing mirror, if you're driving at night anywhere that's vaguely lit, the chrome pieces are all reflected in your window and therefore across your wing mirror, and it drives me bananas. And every car I had, every press car I've had, all has that same detail, and I hate it. And my current car has it too.
Yeah, I
kind of think, even though it looks amazing, I agree with that. Even though they look amazing, when you're in really hot countries with lots and lots of sun, even when you're following vehicles, you're blinded by them as much as a beam at night. The sun can catch a bit of chrome on a car and you're instantly blinded.
What about brushed aluminium?
As long as it's just the reflection in the driver's side window, which is such a pedantic thing, I will accept, but it drives me mad as a design detail because I feel like no one's ever driven the car at night. And anyway, that's fine. But actually the sort of one I wanted to say is a red green one, because my business partner is very fierce about this, is he believes there is absolutely no place for eating in your car.
Oh, so what's red, what's green?
So green. No, let's do it proper way around. Green, you may eat in your car. Red, you may absolutely never, ever, ever eat in your car.
I have exceptions with mine.
Yeah, there's rules.
So no crisps or chocolate.
Wait, this is the orange. Need something orange for this one. It has rules.
My rule is no food in my car. My partner's rule is food in my car for my son every trip.
I do love the irony that our dear friend Ian agreed with no eating in a car, and yet all he's done for the last hour and a half is nosh in a car.
No, it's not really a car, though, is it? I mean, really.
You'd be a good politician.
Nobody would call this a car.
Yeah.
Oh, Boris, blimey. Oh.
Thanks for those, Naomi. I think we've just got a couple more to go to Alan. We'll cut over to Alan.
I have a very quick one. The last couple of generations of Honda Civic Type R, which so many motoring journalists have loved so much, are ruddy, awful road cars.
What?
I haven't driven, so I can't really
never driven one.
comment.
What?
They're just Honda Civic Type R. It's just so much hard work for absolutely nothing on the road.
My neighbour would hate you. He's had 3 of them in successive generations. He's like me, but with Hondas.
He's addicted to the VTEC.
I've tried. Yeah, but you can't use it because you can't use it and keep your license on the road.
Is that the one that
kick in?
Yep.
Dom.
I was just going to say, is that the one where they just cannot stop overstyling it. And so
Yes.
there is now so much detail on it that actually it looks really quite cack.
Yeah, like
And you-
Halfords is built on it.
Yeah, and you can actually option extra spoilers on a Honda Civic Type R. Well, you
You
certainly
really?
could. I don't know if they've stopped it now because of. So there was. I actually discovered there were add-on body kits. It was like, what? Really?
Wow.
But yeah, it's just such hard work, and then it's too big for tiny roads, and it's just too fast to before you get up to any kind of fun, and you look like a twonk.
Yeah, so you, I mean, the early Hondas, then the Civic
Yeah.
Type Rs, you'd be happy with.
Yeah. The DC3 and the one that looks like a spaceship. Yes. After the one that looks like a spaceship, looks like a spaceship, which is the F something or other. Then after that, the last 2 generations. No way.
Try saying spaceship sugar snap peas.
Spaceship sugar snap peas. I'm normally quite good at it.
It's the latest
the name of the
limited
episode.
edition that I don't understand, Alan. You know
Will
the
they
yellow
take all
one?
spoilers off?
No, the limited edition, which is the yellow lightweight one. When they say lightweight, they took the radio out and the aircon,
Yeah.
but they kept the rear seats in. Hang on, this is a track day special. You've taken the radio and the aircon out, but left the rear seats in. Now, give me the Renault Trophy R over that any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, but people are starting to have to leave, so we're going to wrap this up now. Then, before we do though, because we've got Dom here, if young people or people who want to get into the industry to learn a lot more about basically maintaining older vehicles and that kind of stuff, how do they actually get in touch with your guys?
But my organisation, as Si will know, is I support the Heritage Skills Academy and have done since they opened. I sit on their advisory board. That is it from my point of view. But I can tell you that if they get in touch with Heritage Skills actually they do all the interviews with the would-be apprentices, and they will try and match them up with businesses that will suit that young person. So at the beginning, it was a case of you would really have been better off having to go out and find your own employer, which even 3 years ago was quite hard. Now they have employers coming to them with vacancies. So complete change, really, in that all they need to do really is to get in touch with Heritage Skills Academy through any of their various media channels and emails and things, say what they want to do, say where they are. They will get them in, interview them, and hopefully sort it all out for them. But there are far more opportunities out there now than there were 3 years ago.
And what's that for? Is that for age group, did you say, Dom, or what was that?
Well, apprenticeships, in order to get funding, the government changed it so you have to be from 16 years of age to dead. So you can be an apprentice at any age. My youngest son, who was actually youngest in his year, decided that he wanted to start his apprenticeship on the last day of his 15th of his 15th year. And I said, why is that? And he said, because I'll be working with a load of old farts who tell me they all started working when they were 14, and I can turn around and go, well, I was 15. So there. But so, yeah, he was the youngest one at 15 and 11 months, and all the way up to death, pretty much.
Fair enough. Excellent. Good to hear. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we'd normally finish on a fact from Craig, but I think LA, you're kind of subbing for Craig today. So before we all say goodbye, do you want to just give us a bit of a fact of the month?
Yeah, just a quick one. Craig's usually our factoid person. So obviously it's usually Formula One related, which this is. This is about Esteban Ocon being his first win, the 111th winner now. To have a driver to have a first win in Formula One, and the last French driver to win in a French car with a French engine was Alain Prost in 1983 at Austria, and What else did I write there? It's really tiny. I went really tiny at the end. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm running out of paper. Yeah, there we
Was it a
go.
Renault? No.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
I got a Formula One
Renault.
fact.
Well done, Alan. Are you there with LA, Alan?
Yeah.
He's just there. He's there actually.
There.
Yeah.
It's just over
Alan.
there.
Can't do.
Oh,
He's
thanks for that, LA.
There's a
But
really
we have
lovely
got
video going around on Twitter of a French commentator commentating on that last sector. It's really, really lovely. It's all in French, but you totally get the sentiment. It's worth digging it out.
I can imagine the language barrier isn't that much of a problem with that one.
I'm just thinking. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only French drivers who've won since Prost have only actually managed to win one race each. Because it's been John Alesi, it's been Olivier Panis, it's been Gasly, and it's been Ocon. Is other than since Prost, has there been a French driver who's managed to win more than one race?
I think from actual France, that's a good question. Probably not, but obviously if you consider French Canadian, then yes, there would be.
Or if you're considering Monegascan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah, no, actual French, you know, French national anthem on the podium. It's
Yeah.
Well, if only Craig was here, maybe we'll give him a bigger.
I'm sure he'd correct me. I'm sure he'd correct me because I've just
There you go.
not done any research on that. It's just a thought that came to me right now.
Yeah. Well, that we will call it a day there because it's getting closer to 10 o'clock now. But thanks everyone for watching along. Whether you're watching along live or you're watching back on YouTube, make sure you like it. Make sure you leave a comment. Let us know how you felt about it. Subscribe. It really does make a big difference. The next ZoomZoomers, being the first Monday of the month for September, will be the 6th of September. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you back there. And the guys here, hopefully we'll see you guys back on the 6th of September. We'll give you plenty of reminders. We'll figure out a theme for the month before that as well. And we'll get someone else to do the red green questions as well. But until September, that's it from us, and we'll catch you later.